At 7:20 a.m. sharp, a quiet Houston neighborhood awoke to a chilling sight. A man stood at his neighbor's doorstep, his body drenched in blood, frantically begging for help. But the real question was why? Why was he covered in blood, and what horrifying event had just unfolded inside his home? The answer would devastate a family, horrify a community, and expose the dark, secret life of Kristen Chavez. Kristen was only 32 years old, a bright, ambitious paralegal with dreams of becoming an attorney. Her colleagues described her as brilliant, compassionate, and driven by a deep love for the law. For Kristen, her work wasn't just a job, it was a calling. She handled research, drafted legal documents, supported attorneys, and planned to one day fight in court herself. But beyond her career, Kristen was remembered for her heart. Her family called her the voice of reason. Her brother described her as his best friend, ride or die. Friends said she had the rare gift of making everyone feel like her closest companion. And then there were her dogs. 4 beloved pets who weren't just animals to Kristen, but family. To outsiders, Kristen's life seemed picture perfect. She lived in the Oak Forest neighborhood of Northwest Houston with her husband, 34-year-old Kristen Chavez, in what appeared to be a happy suburban marriage. Their home sat on Emma Forest Street, in a community known for warmth and friendliness. Neighbors thought they looked like any other couple building a future together, but behind closed doors, a very different story was unfolding. Kristen's family would later reveal that she had been suffering in silence. Trapped in a marriage that was anything but safe, prosecutors uncovered a history of domestic violence, incidents that never made it into police reports, hidden in the shadows where abuse often thrives. Kristen tried to see the good in people, even when they hurt her. That kindness, her greatest gift, became her greatest vulnerability. Her mother said it best. She stayed, even when it wasn't a good situation, hoping things would change. But Kristen wasn't just staying. She was preparing. Quietly, she was making plans to leave Chance for good. Her family believed she was finally ready to start a new life, one free from fear. Tragically, leaving an abuser is often the most dangerous moment of all. And for Kristen, that moment came on the morning of March 12, 2025. Before police ever arrived, Chance had already set his plan in motion. Hours earlier, he had stolen Kristen's 4 dogs and abandoned them along the Katy freeway. Among them was Peaches, Kristen's 10-year-old dachshund and constant companion. It was a deliberate act of cruelty, targeting what Kristen loved most, to break her spirit before he attacked her body. When police entered the Chavez home, they were met with a scene of horror. Kristen's body was found in the bedroom, savagely beaten with a clothing iron, a household object twisted into a weapon of murder. The iron was broken in 2, evidence of the sheer force used in the attack. Holes in the wall suggested a prolonged, violent struggle. The brutality was staggering. This was no sudden outburst. Investigators determined it was calculated, methodical, and fueled by rage. And then came the final deception. After killing his wife, Chance rang his neighbor's doorbell, claiming that something tragic had happened, as if he were a bystander, not the man responsible for the blood covering his clothes. But Kristen's story didn't end there. Her family, devastated by her murder, also launched a desperate search for her missing dogs. Volunteers and strangers joined the hunt. Miraculously, 3 were found alive, but Peaches, Kristen's most beloved, was discovered dead, stuffed into a plastic bag and dumped by the roadside. As the case moved to court, outrage only grew. Chance was charged with murder, but his initial bond was set at just $250,000. Kristen's family, joined by advocates and thousands of supporters, fought to have it raised. They argued this wasn't just about one case. It was about the system failing domestic violence victims everywhere. Eventually, the judge doubled the bond to $500,000, though many argued even that wasn't enough. Chance's attorney claimed he was in shock. But Kristen's family had no doubt. This was premeditated, cold-blooded, and deliberate. Today, Kristen's loved ones continue to fight for justice in her name. They share her story to shine a light on the dangers of domestic violence and to protect others from suffering the same fate. Kristen dreamed of becoming a lawyer, fighting for justice in the courtroom. Now, that fight continues. Not by her, but for her. Her legacy is more than tragedy. It is a warning, a call to action, and a reminder that love should never cost your life. But the case of Kristen Chavez didn't end with her brutal murder. It set off a chain reaction, inside her family, her community, and the justice system itself. For Kristen's loved ones, the days that followed were a blur of grief and disbelief. Her brother Devon admitted it felt like living inside a nightmare. She was my best friend, and in one morning, she was just gone. Her mother Laura said the silence in their home was unbearable, as though the very light had been stolen from their family. And then came the gut-wrenching reality of searching for Kristen's dogs. Those animals had been her world, and now they were scattered across Houston. Strangers who never knew Kristen joined the hunt, sharing posts on social media, combing highways and spreading the word. When 3 of the dogs were found alive, it felt like a small miracle. But the discovery of Peach's lifeless body in a plastic bag sent fresh waves of pain through the family. It was a cruel reminder that Chance's violence reached beyond Kristen, touching every part of her life. Meanwhile, outrage was brewing in Houston. Advocates called Kristen's murder one of the most shocking cases of domestic violence the city had seen in years. The brutality of the attack, using a household iron until it shattered, and the deliberate cruelty of abandoning her pets struck a nerve with the public. Yet what truly set people off was the bond. When the judge initially set Chance's bail at just $250,000, Kristen's family and supporters were outraged. To them, it felt like her life was being measured in dollars and undervalued by the very system she once dreamed of serving. A petition demanding a higher bond quickly gathered more than 8,000 signatures. Community leaders, activists, and Crime Stoppers advocate Andy Cahan stood beside the family, demanding change. If someone can commit this kind of calculated violence and still have a chance to walk free before trial, Cahan said, then the system is broken. Eventually, the bond was raised to $500,000, but the family believed it should have been denied altogether. For them, no number could measure the risk of letting a man like Chance Chavez anywhere near the outside world again. In the courtroom, Chance often appeared disoriented, sometimes refusing to leave his jail cell for hearings. His lawyer painted him as a man in shock, incapable of grasping what he'd done. But Kristen's family had no illusions. He knew exactly what he was doing, her mother said. He planned it. He carried it out, and he thought he could get away with it. Now, as Chance awaits trial, Kristen's family channels their grief into advocacy. They share her story to raise awareness about the hidden dangers of domestic violence. Dangers that can lurk even in seemingly happy homes, in family-friendly neighborhoods. Behind smiling photographs on social media, her mother's words still echo. She suffered silently, and that silence is what her loved ones hope to shatter. For them, Kristen's life will never be defined solely by the way it ended. She was a brilliant young woman with dreams of law school, a fierce love for her family, and a heart so big that she believed even the most broken people could be fixed. Her story is a warning, yes, but also a call to protect others before it's too late. The tragedy of Kristen Chavez is not just about one family's loss. It's about the countless others enduring abuse in silence, hoping things will change, when sometimes change never comes, and it's about the terrifying truth that the most dangerous day in an abusive relationship is the day you decide to leave. The fight for justice in the case of Kristen Chavez is far from over. With the trial looming, prosecutors are preparing a devastating case, one that portrays Chance Zane Chavez not as a man who snapped, but as a cold, calculated killer who carefully set the stage for his wife's death. They point to the timeline, the stolen dogs, the emotional torment of abandoning them, the brutal attack with a household iron, and the chilling calm with which he presented himself to a neighbor afterward. This, they argue, was no accident. It was premeditated cruelty. Prosecutors have made their stance clear. They will seek the maximum penalty the law allows. For them, Kristen's murder isn't just another case file. It's a symbol of the danger lurking in abusive homes and the cost of failing to intervene soon enough. But the defense is already signaling their strategy. They will claim that Chance was not in his right mind, that he was overwhelmed, that this was an explosion of emotion rather than a calculated killing. His lawyer suggests his client was in a state of shock, disconnected from reality. They may even attempt to lean on mental health defenses, hoping to chip away at the charge of premeditated murder. For Kristen's family, that argument feels like an insult. "Shock?" her mother said bitterly outside the courthouse. No, he planned this. He knew she was leaving, and he couldn't stand to lose control. And that's the heart of the tragedy. Kristen had finally found the courage to walk away. After years of silent suffering, after carrying the weight of a toxic marriage, she was preparing for freedom. She was preparing to step into a new life, one filled with promise, possibility, and safety. But for so many victims of domestic violence, the most dangerous time is not while staying. It's while leaving. According to advocates, women are 70 times more likely to be killed in the weeks after they decide to leave an abusive partner. Kristen never got the chance to outrun that statistic. Her family knows this, and it fuels their fight. They are determined that Kristen's death will not be in vain. They attend hearings. They speak to the press. They demand reform. They remind the public that behind the gruesome headlines lies a brilliant woman who had dreams of law school. A woman who loved her dogs, a sister who was always there with advice, a daughter who anchored her family, and they remind us of something else. Kristen Chavez could be anyone. A neighbor, a coworker, a friend. Abuse hides in plain sight, masked by smiles, buried under silence. In Houston, her case has sparked conversations about bail reform and domestic violence protections. Advocates are demanding judges have more discretion to deny bail when public safety is at risk. Kristen's name has become part of that fight, a rallying cry for change in a system that too often underestimates the danger of abusers. But for her family, all of that pales compared to the one thing they truly want: justice. They want to see Chance Chavez convicted and locked away for the rest of his life. They want accountability. They want the world to know exactly who Kristen was and what was stolen from her. As the trial approaches, Houston braces for a courtroom battle that will expose every painful detail of the Chavez marriage. Every text, every fight, every red flag ignored, and when the verdict finally comes, it won't just decide the fate of one man. It will decide what justice looks like for a woman who dreamed of becoming an attorney, only to have her life cut short by the man who vowed to love and protect her. For her family, for her dogs, for her community, and for the countless silent victims still trapped in cycles of abuse, this case is more than a trial. It's a fight to prove that Kristen Chavez's voice will not be silenced. It's a fight to make sure her blood on his hands leads to justice.